Listen, are you a cop dad trying to get back to that academy size? Are you looking at that picture and thinking, man, if only I can get back there? I have a great guest who is a fitness instructor and a cop who is helping cop dads get back to the body that they had. Coach Justin, aka Justin Hesse, and he's going to tell us all about his program. His clients have been able to lose 30 pounds within his 4-month program, as well as add an additional 60 pounds of strength for deadlift, and 40 pounds to their bench press. All right, you guys, welcome Coach Justin. Coach Justin, are you here?
I'm here.
Turn up.
What's up, Jill? Yeah, of course.
What's up?
Turn it up. I'm
It
well.
is
How are
Monday.
you?
Turn up. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I'm off. Any day that's off is always a good day, right?
It is
Even
always a
when you
good
love
day.
your job.
Yeah, it's kind of like fishing. Like even if you don't catch anything, but at least you're out doing it. And for you, it's like,
You're
well,
there.
you're just off duty, so it's already a good day. So
Absolutely. Listen, thank you for coming on,
of
Justin.
course.
You are a fitness instructor.
Mhm.
You have to wear a lot of caps, man. You're a fitness
I do.
instructor, you're a cop, and you're a National Guard, bro. That's
Yes.
pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. And you're in Minnesota, correct?
Oh yeah, Minnesota.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
where's the accent, dude? You like got rid of the
It's
accent, but
it's funny because when people point it out, then now my O's are gonna be strung out.
yeah. I actually had a coworker who was from Minnesota. Cool dude, really cool dude.
Okay,
He ended up leaving the department, but he was a really cool dude. We used to give him a little crap about it too, but he
sure.
managed. He
Oh
managed.
yeah, like anytime I go anywhere for training, like if for the military, that's the oh, you're from Minnesota. I'm like, oh, is it that obvious?
So listen, tell us about your fitness program. It's Blue Line Fitness, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Blue Line. Tell me about your program.
So, Blue Line Fitness been open for 4 years while we niche to cop dads because I'm both a cop and a dad. But we help other first responder professions, females in the program. But, a tagline is like, hey, I can help you lose 30 pounds in 4 months without running a single mile or excessive dieting. Now, some people have lost up to 40 pounds, some people 20. But I think more importantly that they just start becoming a version of themselves they were when they started their career or even before.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that's kind of like, if I had to sum it all up, is that you became a cop to be a superhero. And then, like, because of the job, you kind of just feel a shell of yourself. And then by taking care of your health physically, mentally, emotionally, you start becoming that version of yourself again. So our first program's 4 months, the Cop Transformation Academy. But I say most of my clients are actually in their second program, which is a year long after that. So most of my clients have been working with me for over 16 months.
Okay. Let me ask, that's a bold statement to make, man, to lose all the weight without having to run. No, and what about dieting? Is dieting part of the thing, or
Well,
that's a touchy subject?
well, it's the word of it. And
Okay.
so when people think of diet, they think of keto, or I think carnivore is the big craze.
Right now.
And really it's just about, we do nutrition coaching, but people quickly realize how executing the fundamentals of how easy it can be. Because
Hey, are you a female officer that feels like you're doing everything right but still falling apart? Do you wake up already tired before you even start your shift? Is your to-do list growing but your joy and energy for the job shrinking? First of all, you are not alone. You are not lazy or weak. You are burned out. And as a 16-year detective in Los Angeles, I understand because I was you. Now imagine this. Being productive without feeling drained. Imagine rediscovering the person you were and the officer you were before the burnout. I want to give you a gift to get there. Download my 3 tactical power moves to fix your work-life balance in the description of this video below. This was a game changer for me, y'all, and I want it to be the same for you. All right, let's get back to the video.
People say that I'm on a diet when I'm eating vegetables.
Okay.
Like, is that a diet? I'm eating veggies. That doesn't mean I'm on a diet. Like, we're so unhealthy of a population. You just see someone eating vegetables and suddenly on a,
I'm dieting.
I'm on a diet. If I had to really sum it up, we just try to keep it simple, stupid. And it's like, okay, if you eat your protein, you eat some veggies, you drink your damn water, you're going to go a long ways. So like, I say without dieting because whether it's exercise or nutrition, I think a lot of people, but I think especially cops, can go to extreme.
Yeah.
Extreme, like if they're going to hop in the program, they're going to do a 2-hour bodybuilder regimen workout, or I'm going to make them do CrossFit. I'm going to make them do burpees until their eyes bleed. I'm going to have them give up donuts and beer forever.
Yeah.
And that's just not,
that's no fun.
Well, it's no fun. It's no sustainable. Like, I mean, I just had donuts last week, like, and we'll look obese in the mirror. I'm still here.
Let's go back in time a little bit. What caused you to do this, right? What did you see or what did you experience even personally that made you want to do this, made you want to focus on cops in general and trying to get there, like you said, go from where they were or go from where they are to where they want to be?
So I was started in a small town in Red Wing in 2016. And 10 months in, I went to a health and fitness conference in Vegas. Quite the place to have a health and fitness conference. And I was emotionally moved to tears by some of these brick and mortar gyms of people that they're rags to riches stories. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I went on deployment. All I thought about was opening my own gym. Got back from deployment, looking at commercial spaces. I didn't open up my own gym because another gym was opening. I'm like, it's going to be a lot easier if I just start working first. And at the start of it, so I was working at this brick and mortar gym starting in 2018, thinking like, I'm going to own this place one day while I was copping. And then May 2020, George Floyd happened. May 25th, I think. I don't know. Anyway. And then long story short, like between I was working at a brick and mortar gym. And then the boss even asked me, I'm like, do you still want to own a brick and mortar gym? And I'm kind of like, no. And I say no because of like the taxes of a building. You're stuck.
It's a lot.
I mean, there wasn't any, at least, consistency with members. So like, no consistent revenue stream. And then because of the George Floyd aftermath, yes, our physical, mental, emotional toll, there was already for law enforcement, but I felt like it just got worse. And then even for me, I'm supposed to be the gold standard at my department. I'm a fitness trainer. And Jill, I went from 5 to 6 workouts a week to 5-6 workouts a month. This is the fall of 2020. And I say I worked out more, but for those who are listening, have you done a workout, but you just half-assed through it?
You just do it just because.
Just do it just because. We have a local gas station, Quick Trip. And if I'd eat healthy and I was on my regimen, I'd maybe, if I didn't pack my lunch, I'd grab the cranberry wild rice bread, turkey sandwich, carrots, apple, hard-boiled eggs. During this time, I was in the hot ovens, pizza slices, cheeseburgers. And then I'd have like this Yeti. This Yeti, 20 ounces. I would fit 2 shots of Jameson whiskey, ice, and a can of ginger ale. I would have that maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month. But then,
a Yeti full of that.
Yeah, like 2 shots of 2 shots of Jameson in it. But like that'd be like it's a double drink. But during George Floyd, I'd be drinking 2 or 3 of those pretty much
Yeah.
after every shift.
Just the stress of what's causing that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my coping mechanism. It was the recliner
Yeah.
syndrome, fill that glass up, shut the
Mhm.
world out, be like, so I'm like, okay, if I don't want to open up a brick and mortar gym, I just started like, maybe I'd serve cops because I love the people in it, but I didn't necessarily want to do the job anymore. It'd be no different than if like someone who's a military vet that they just get out after the first contracts. They don't want to do a 20-year career. And I
Okay.
wanted to just serve a population that I respect the hell out of and mold that with a passion that I have for fitness. So then in May 20th, 2021 was my last shift as a full-time officer. And then on May 21st, I went from full-time cop to part-time cop, part-time coach to full-time online coach. So,
Okay. So I love what you said. Not love it, but I understand what you said about the stress.
yeah.
Right? That was a difficult time, I think, for well, I know, for not only officers, but let's be honest, society as a whole. That was a lot
Mhm.
for everybody, but
It
especially
was.
officers. It was a lot. And you're pretty close to how far are you from where the George Floyd incident occurred? You're a lot closer than I am.
Less than an hour drive.
Yes,
And
less than an hour drive.
I was state since I'm a military police, I was state activated for
Yeah,
the riot. So I was in
right.
specifically St. Paul. Some of my friends were in
Okay.
Minneapolis, Lake Street, where all the buildings were being burned down and all that kind of stuff, hearing them on the radio. So yeah.
Let me ask you this. Everyone's watching what's going on. And of course we're paying for it just like everyone else, as if we were actually there. Right?
Yeah.
They're riding like crazy for it here in LA for a couple weeks. But this is just from the police perspective. What were your thoughts when they took over the police department? This is just kind of just something that came to
Yeah.
me because I know how I was when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was just complete disbelief when you would have, whether it's the mayor or higher ups, basically wanting the knights of a castle to retreat their own castle.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times in our country's history to where like it was okay for society to burn down a police department?
Right.
Like,
Right.
it was just fucking wild. And then
Yeah.
now, and not only is of that, but like, so there's a great documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis,
Mhm.
and where like they're interviewing these officers and like they're literally, and they had like no squad car. And then like some of them didn't, not everyone had a squad car. So then they're like literally running in the streets or blocks, like
Right.
retreating.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
know, then like in all this fear and all this chaos, you don't know then if you're going to get in a shootout or anything like that. So like it was just unbelievable of the leadership, whoever, like however high it went up, that they were just like, hey, just retreat. Like that's just
Yeah.
insane.
That is, and I wanna talk so much more about this, but I don't wanna I also wanna stay.
Yeah,
I wanna
no,
stay on
you're
course. It's just so
fine.
enticing. But
Yeah.
let me I wanna go back to your fitness jersey. So your fitness journey. So you created this program and it was created from the frustration and the I guess the stress of everything that was going on in George Floyd.
Mhm.
And you cared about the people that you work with so much that you wanted to help them because you knew they were struggling in the same way that you were.
Yeah.
And fitness was, I'm assuming, was the quote unquote savior for you. And you wanted
Yes.
to give that to everyone else. Is that essentially what occurred?
Yeah. My fitness journey started, I was in high school. I graduated in a class of 80 people, 80.
8. Wait a minute. Time out. 80 people
In my class.
in
Very
your class.
small. Like
Wow.
the town I grew up is like 3,000 people. Like it's farm, it's farm
Wow.
country.
Really?
Yeah, very small.
Okay.
And athletics like is one of the few extra. I mean, so I was an athlete, but I didn't act like a jock because my mom was an elementary principal.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, like football was our best sport, won state titles. And for whatever reason, in each grade, there had to be someone that had to be the shit magnet. Someone that
Explain to people what that means. I know what that means. That's a cop term.
You basically, well, and I guess in this way, you make fun of and you bully this person just because, like, I don't know, makes you feel good.
Yeah. Or you attract drama, basically, huh? Basically, what it is.
Yeah, whether it's drama or whatever, but yeah, like I was the kid in my class that everyone made fun of.
Okay.
And
Got you.
so, like, from visual, like if you're having talking circles, like in the hallway, I would almost had to wedge myself into talking circles, or
Got
to
it.
a
Okay.
point where I was socially awkward. And it led to one night, Jill, where I was the summer of 2009. My parents were gone, and I had my dad's 12 gauge shotgun muzzle in my mouth. Thinking no one would give a fuck if I was gone.
Wow.
And what pulled me out of it was, one, my mom's uncle, decades before, completed suicide.
Wow.
And I'm like, she can't go through that again. But also, I'm like, I just got to put up with this shit for one more year. And then I'm going to go to this law enforcement school that no one knows me. And I can write my own story. I went to that school, and my roommate, I literally thought was Superman. His name was Brent. The guy with the boulder shoulders, the big chest, the guy where the guys want to be him, girls want to be with him. He had the swagger. And I'm like, I want that.
Nice.
Because yes, you're a 19-year-old and you want to get chicks in college. But more importantly, I just wanted fucking respect.
I hear you.
Confidence. So I lift, he's like, do you lift weights? And I was like starting to lift weights after like football. And like, yeah. But like, so like I got into it more, and we'd work out for 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a session, did that for every single week. And it just got to a point to where I started gaining respect. It got to a point where instead of a nobody, I became a somebody. People would be like looking to me for fitness advice. People want to work out with me because like I'm above them per se. They want me to push them. And that's kind of big for someone when you literally thought like you're a piece of shit and you thought no one liked you. So it gave me an identity. It became like I was a fitness guy. And I took that into the military. People, by my looks, thought I wasn't an athlete. And then when I'm beating everybody in the PT tests, so I became just the fitness guy. So then I'm like, well, if this can help me, then like it can help transform other people's lives. So that's how my fitness then all started. So.
Okay. Listen, I'm sorry you had to experience that, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. And I'm glad you didn't do it. I'm glad you weren't successful, bro.
I'm glad
you weren't successful.
But really, like, there's really no need to be sorry just because it's like, yeah, was it shitty? But at the same time, then like it gave me the fuel to the fire to where I am today. Like, who knows where I would be at? It's just part of my story. to where like I probably wouldn't be coaching if it wasn't to that deep of pain. So
Right.
like, yeah, it sucked, but like, I don't know. A lot of people go through some shitty experiences. So
True, true. But you listen, you survived, and I think that's
true.
awesome. And thank you for sharing that. You know, it's not. I know it's not easy, especially for us that work in law enforcement, where you know we are constantly, we're constantly trying to stay strong all the time, right? Be strong for everybody,
Yeah.
right? No, we don't need any help. We're the people who help others,
Yeah.
and we
I
don't need all this.
I've learned that vulnerability is one of my greatest strengths. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
I opened in 2021, but I did not share that full story until like 2023 because I thought I'd get judged. And honestly, the first time and honestly, what was judged, and also like, honestly, I didn't want my mom to know. But then after sharing it, there are a lot more people than that reach out to me, be like, holy shit, like I've been there too. So it just helps me connect to people on deeper levels. So
Yeah. You know what? That's what breeds a kind of a lot of what I do too. I didn't have an experience where I felt like, suicide came upon me,
yeah,
but the George Floyd incident, and I don't think we're alone in this. This is
yeah,
actually what drew me to you, and I told you that, but the George Floyd incident was definitely something that changed changed things in my life, right? And wanted
hmm
me to be able um to help officers because I knew if I was struggling emotionally, they were too.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
I knew they were
Yeah,
too. And so I compliment you on that, and I totally understand because that's one of the same places where I came from. So you
yeah.
you mentioned about how you grew up. You said you grew up what now, did you actually grow up on a farm, or was it just like farm town?
It was farm town country, but I mean, I worked on a dairy farm,
Cool.
right down the road, quarter mile away. Rode my four wheeler, milked cows at 2 in the morning, even on school days. And then in the summer, you worked in the afternoons at 1:30 p.m. But yeah, I got two brothers, one older, one younger. So I'm the middle child. So we can make little jokes about middle child syndrome. Um, yeah, I don't know. I played sports, like it's like football, track, when I was a little younger, basketball, baseball, soccer. Um, you know, yeah, I don't know. Then I went to law enforcement school. It was like a 2-year school. It's Alex Tech, Alexandria, Minnesota. It was kind of almost in a way like an academy, just because like we had to wear uniforms, shine our boots, that kind of stuff. So I didn't
Mhm.
necessarily go to a university. Um, yeah, I graduated there. At that time, it was very tough to get a cop job.
Okay.
Um,
Why why
like
why
one,
why would you say that? Why do you think it was very tough to get a job then? Right, cop job.
because there would be like 200 applications for one opening.
Okay.
And so it was very competitive. And then a department could pick their choosing of like, hey, here's our like top 25 eligibility lists. But now
We're begging
when
people.
you're having job fairs for God's sakes, you're giving people upfront vacation, like a bonus,
Yes. Yeah.
like, oh, I can get a
Yeah.
10 grand, 15 grand bonus
Yeah.
instantly. Like that's just that, like when I
Yeah.
was applying in 2012, 13, 14, there just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I actually joined the military to begin with, because I wanted as a job resume booster.
Okay.
Because all my applications, it was like no experience, I
Mm.
toss in trash can.
Mhm.
And then as soon as I could put military on my list, I got my first interviews.
Oh,
But then of
nice.
course I still had to go to basic training. But yes, then I joined the military in 2012. So
Okay, nice. And it's funny though. Like I can see how the shift of not being able to get hired to now like, oh my gosh, anyone please come work with us. And this is across the
Yeah,
board. This is across the
this
nation.
is across the board. Like when you're having job fairs, when it's funny of all places. I remember like you're having like a Minneapolis Police Department recruiting video. Like you're paying money for like a professional recruiting video.
Right,
Like
right.
that's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's a trip, but hey, it's the card we've been dealt. And I think
Yeah.
there's a shift though. I think we're in the
Yes.
middle and kind of coming over that hill now.
Yeah.
And people are we're getting better, I guess I should say. We're not back, but we're
Yes.
getting better. So you mentioned when you, as you're a kid in high school, you mentioned that one of the reasons why you became a police officer because you was getting bullied. Now, a lot of times people say, right? And and this kind of relates to your law enforcement. I think you know what I'm going to say here. They
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
all cops are just guys and girls who got bullied when they were kids, so they become cops so they can bully other people. What do you say
Yeah.
to that?
Well, I mean, it's great for Hollywood. And I can't speak for, maybe there are some out there.
Mhm.
Um, to be honest, because my mom was a teacher, I thought I was going to be a teacher.
Okay.
And it was my junior year. It was in the spring where, because I loved history.
Okay.
And I was good at math, but I'm like, math is boring, even though I'm really good at it. Say in my history class, I'm looking around and most of the kids just hated being in there. And I'm just kind of like, do I really want to have a job where I'm in a classroom where kids just hate being here? And I went home. I'm watching my favorite show, NCIS,
Okay.
with Leroy Jethro Gibbs and Anthony DiNozzo. And I told my mom, like, hey, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. And she just freaking almost like flipped out of mind because like, you're a junior, like you're in the spring year of your junior year. This is where people are like going to college visits and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You don't know what you want to do. And I'm just like, no. Like, well, you just have to like, start buckling down. I'm like, okay. And then I just kept watching my shows and I'm just kind of like, huh, what if I become a cop? And obviously, it's not obviously now that when people work being a cop and then now you watch cop shows, you're like, that's not realistic. That's not real. But like, and really, so I guess about going back to the question of like, well, if you were bullied so much that then you're going to bully other people,
Mhm.
I would argue when I was bullied so much, wow, this is very cheesy, I wanted someone to quote unquote save me.
What do you mean by that?
I want a superhero to come in to basically fight off the bullies.
Okay.
Like you think of like superheroes, like they beat up the bad, like they look out for the people being bullied per se, taken advantage of. When you look at any superhero movie, it's like a superhero, you defeat the villain so that then the rest of society is better. So the villain doesn't keep quote unquote taking advantage, destroying society, whatever. So I would tell departments that I want to be the superhero when people were in the most trouble.
Mhm.
And I think because even though like I wasn't like I wasn't like no crimes, were committed against me, but like I wanted to help people when they felt like they were in the most, I want to say depressed, like there's in a worse spot.
Right.
So I'd argue is because I was bullied so much, that's maybe also part of why I became a cop.
Yeah.
Not so I bully other people, but so then I could
Right.
quote unquote arrest the bullies.
Right.
You go punch someone else in the face and then run away. You're the bully.
Yeah.
You want to be the thief, to steal from this person who's been working hard for this car or whatever you stole. You're the bully stealing from this person. I want to catch you. So,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's more like that.
Yeah. And I love that. And I can totally see that. And I'm glad. And I asked that question on purpose because I know a lot of people assume that, a lot of people
Yeah.
assume that officers are just, kids who got picked on and they want to go pick on other people. No, it doesn't have to work. And you're right. It may be some people who be doing that, but
Yeah.
because we don't live in a perfect world, right? And I named this
Mhm.
show The Human Side because guess what? Officers are human. Newsflash, guys. Newsflash, officers are human. So there are people who may be doing that. But I have found that an overwhelming amount of people who come on this job are here for the right reasons and they want to help people who are unable to help themselves. And that's basically
Yes.
what you just described. That is your case for you specifically. So for those who are thinking that officers
Yes.
are just coming on here just to bully other people, more than likely it's for the same reasons that Justin just described here. And so I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, like it's most people. I mean, everyone wants to make a difference in the world, but I think it just kind of goes maybe back down to the fundamentals of policing of like there are people who want to catch the bad guys. And I think what society can misconstrued is that they think that everybody is, behaves, or that's just because maybe
Right.
of their way they grew up, maybe what they see. If you use the analogies of society or sheep, cops are sheepdogs, you have the wolves, like people just assume everyone's sheep, everyone's not going to cause harm.
Right.
But sure, the 99% of people that you interact with your friends, with your circle, but like you don't go to the wolf's den.
Yeah.
And we are here to catch the wolves that you don't want to see.
Yep.
So
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. If only everyone did what they're supposed to do, you wouldn't have to have cops, but that's not going to happen.
well, yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
Quite
Right.
frankly.
Exactly. And
We do.
so I
So,
appreciate that part of it.
yes.
So let's talk about more about the policing aspect.
Yeah.
So how would you describe the relationship between law enforcement and the community pre George Floyd?
Well, it can be a loaded question because obviously it could depend upon. I can't speak for every single police department in the nation. Like so, like this is kind of where like from some of the people that I follow, like if I'm stating something, it's from like I'm documenting it from my own experiences. I'm not like lecturing it, saying that this is the case for everybody.
Right.
From my experience, like, it was like, like from, to most of the society, like the people who would complain about the police were probably the criminals. And quite frankly, I'm
Who
like,
cares?
sorry, but if you're the one committing the crime, like, of course you're going to complain about me.
Right. For sure.
If you see the Google reviews on a police department, if it's 1 star, well, it's probably because there was a criminal that did it, right?
Google
Like,
review.
so you don't really care about that.
Yeah.
So like for the most part, that I think, it was well. Now, like if you were to be now a cop for a bigger agency, whether it's LA, New York City, Minneapolis, Chicago, like it could be a different experience, but also policing in a town that I did of like 16,000 people is different than millions of people.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, you can still, I mean, we had murders in our small town,
Yeah.
but like, it's not just on a volume as to say some big cities.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's fair enough, and I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. So, and we're gonna talk about the loaded question, right? Would
Sure.
you say that because I know the answer to this, the second half of this, but would you say that the relationship between, and I don't know what the population is where you are, right? As far as
Yeah.
demographics, race, and things like that. But would you say that, or let me ask you this, how was the relationship between law enforcement and the Black community prior to the George Floyd situation? And I ask this because, obviously, if you can't tell, I'm Black.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know that in our race, in our culture, we struggle the most when it comes with law enforcement, or the relationship struggles the most when it comes to law enforcement between the Black community. And so,
Yeah.
what would you say the relationship was like, or give me an idea what it's like? What was it like pre George Floyd? Was it actually good? You would say before George Floyd, or I mean, just in your opinion. Obviously, you can't speak for every agency.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, again, it comes from a police officer. Like, I would respond to calls of service.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if the person that I'm responding to, a noise complaint, family complaint, a domestic, doesn't matter if you're white, Black, Hispanic, Native, like, I'm still responding.
Right.
And so, if it got to a frame that, like, well, that law enforcement, hates the you're picking on me because I'm African American. Like, no, because it's midnight, you're drunk, and you're screaming outside when everyone else is sleeping. Like, so like we don't, at least for me, like, I never brought race into the matter. It would be like, if race was brought up, it's brought up by the suspect or whoever's the complainant or whoever. I'm just responding to the individual.
Right.
Or I'm more specifically, I mean, responding to the conduct that's happened. I would say, so then, like, of course, then if I were to arrest someone who's Black, then, like, it could be like construed or twisted where, like, well, like, this guy's racist because that he maybe arrested this Black person for this, but then not this person over here. But as you know, with policing, like, no two calls are ever the same.
Right.
So I feel like that, again, like, for the most part, like, I felt like we as a police department treated everybody equally and fairly. As far as that matter, I guess.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Now, and this is probably a no-brainer. What is
Yeah.
it like now? Like, what is it really hostile? Like, what is it like now? Especially for you and where you are. You're right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, between George Floyd and Derek Chauvin's trial, between those two periods, so it'd been May 2020 until it was like April 2021. Like, even though I was in a town of 17,000 people, like, we had a BLM activist group, to where then, if you'd have these protests, you'd have more of the general. There are those, and I think that even any of the big BLM protests in some of these bigger cities, you have some of your quote unquote instigators to get the people riled up. And then there's kind of a bunch of people who just want to be part of a cause.
Yep.
And so what tore me the most, Jill, was that, like, some of these activists to, like, kind of rile people up. Most of the time, like, I mean, not every single one of them were criminals. But some of them, like, okay, if you're just being, I guess, if your cause is just to really pour hate on me, like, quite frankly, that's, I guess, I don't care about your opinion. But when the more of the general public then started developing that distrust, whereas beforehand there wasn't there, because that's what made it tough. And I guess what really kind of was irony, but like police officer isn't a race.
Right.
If you look at racism, like, you're drawing hate or you're acting a certain way towards someone's race. And just from the uniform that I'm wearing, you're assuming certain character traits about me just
Mhm.
because I'm a white police
Mhm.
officer and wearing a uniform. Is that really any and that's where it just kind of like tore me of like then people would feed into this narrative
Mhm.
where it's pushed by the BLM,
Yeah.
by politics, by big mainstream media. And that's what was the hardest during that time, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that, and I have a lot of, conversations with my non-black non-black,
Yeah.
particularly, white officers and coworkers,
Yeah.
and I feel for them in some sense too, because you're right, they're getting judged. Actually, one of my partners I work with regularly, one of my partners, he's a white male. We talk about this kind of stuff a lot, where we have a
Yeah.
safe place in the car or at work or wherever you're eating
Yeah.
lunch, and, you're definitely gonna be it's definitely gonna be assumed because of the trauma that the Black community has experienced with law enforcement. We have to be honest about that. The
Yep.
history of America, unfortunately,
Yeah.
has used
Mhm.
law enforcement to be the pusher, basically. You take it all the way
Mhm.
back to the slave days, and so, unfortunately, that trauma has carried on, and it's been subjected on people who didn't have anything to do with it, and that's challenging. It's challenging for both sides, right?
Yeah.
But I appreciate your honesty on that. Let me ask you this also. That was another big issue that, and I don't wanna make it political. There tends to be a, um, a huge opinion on the kneeling, okay? Are you familiar with this? Like, you had officers, you had departments who were kneeling, right? And that was a big deal in law enforcement. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of officers was like, "I
Yeah.
only kneel to my God," and this and that, which I
Yeah.
understand. As a faith person, as a Christian,
Yeah.
I totally get that. However, I think there was and this is my opinion based on conversations I've had with other Black folks, right? I guess I
Yeah.
kinda got the underground, right? Got the inside
Sure.
the
Sure.
inside, right? Which is it's kinda I won't say kinda cool, but it's very unique. I'm
Yeah.
very appreciative that I have a unique perspective because I do
Mhm.
have these real conversations with friends, family members,
Mhm.
but then I can also have these same conversations with coworkers, with law enforcement, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
point I'm making is there was I think was a misunderstanding, and maybe you can confirm this or not, that the kneeling, um, with protesters in the Black community, that was more so of a sentiment of saying that, "Hey, you support us in this as far as, what happened to George Floyd, and that, it shouldn't have happened." And I think officers may have taken it as more so, "Oh, no, you're bowing down to us." Is that something that you would say, was the sentiment, or what did you how did you take that as?
Yeah. It's always I always take the approach that first of all, like, yes, I don't know all the details because
Mhm.
I wasn't there.
Right. Right.
Um, you know, if the kneeling as long as it felt like that the officers were doing it in a way because of their own doing, so if it is
Mm,
from the place of, um, trying to show the support
right.
from a side of strength
Mhm.
versus how it could be perceived of like, I don't know, you're outnumbered by all these people who could be hostile. And then if you intuitively don't want to kneel, and if you were to have people who are like, kneel,
Ah,
kneel, kneel, and then
then you do
now
it?
it's like,
Right.
and then you do it,
Yeah.
then it can be taken
Yeah.
as like you're bowing down.
Was that something
So
that was happening? I don't know if well, I didn't witness that here in LA, but was that actually something that was happening, do you think?
I mean, I thought I saw a recent I mean, I follow a lot of people on Instagram, but I thought there was a recent one from the LA riots where there was a video of, like, some officers kneeling. Now, what was that from LA? I don't know, because it could have been a way older clip. I assumed it
Right.
was out in LA.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I mean, I think of course, it's already 5 years ago.
Right.
I remember when I was state activated, I know there was, like, a colonel who kneeled with them.
Mhm.
And I know, again, like, I didn't get all the context. I didn't have a conversation with this colonel of why he did it.
Right.
But right away, I could tell from all of the soldiers' perspective is that, like, you're bowing down.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess it just kind of goes
Mhm.
into, like, what is the
Intent,
intent
yeah, for sure.
behind it? So,
For sure, and it sucks 'cause I think when we don't know what the actual intent is, like, if we don't have all the information, we assign our own intent to it,
oh, for
right?
sure. That's what happens to everything.
Yeah.
You by your own biases, by your own
Yeah.
beliefs, you fill in the
Yep.
gaps. And,
Yep.
that could be from watching a 30-second
Yeah.
video and it
Absolutely.
goes viral. I
Absolutely.
mean you look at Kenosha,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that video, and it looked like, this cop just randomly, like, shot this, and then the city's burning. And then,
Mhm.
like, they literally interviewed the guy. Literally, like, no, I was going in the car to grab a gun. Like, he admitted, like, but like, so then now everyone just looks ridiculous because of, like, a 30-second video, but you don't capture the full story. So, like,
Right.
it's always important to get the
Right, and
details.
I tell people that a lot. I get a lot of questions. People ask me, "Why did the officer do this? Why do they do that?" Or they see that 30-second clip, and I'm like, "Look," and people get upset because I don't automatically have their answer. I tell them, "You have to wait and see what else happened, dude. Like, what happened before that?" And they're like, "No, it doesn't matter." It totally matters.
Totally
It totally
matters.
matters what
Of course it
happened. It totally matters what happened. All I know is that he shot him, and then I said, "But what did he do to make him shoot him?" You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's an issue, and part of that is the media, right? They love to,
Yeah.
sensationalize things. They love to, I mean, at the end of the day, they want ratings, and they know what's gonna get
Yes.
people upset and what's gonna get people to watch. Um, but yeah, thank you for that, and I know it's a sensitive topic to talk about, but this is why I wanted to have this podcast, right? So we can have these honest conversations, and
Yeah.
people engage. So I appreciate your honesty. I know it can be tricky navigating.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's only tricky if you feel like that you offend someone.
Right, right.
And, like, for me, of, like, I'm just speaking from my own
Yeah,
experiences, and people can agree, people can
for
disagree.
sure.
That's okay. You don't have to agree with my opinion.
Facts.
Um,
Yeah,
so, like, it's only sensitive if someone makes it
yep,
sensitive.
I
So,
agree, and you articulated your opinion well. I think it was very well, said and respectful too. Let me ask this, so you're a National Guard also, dude. That's a
mhm.
trip. That's kinda cool. Let me give a timeline for the folks, even for myself. So you were a police officer, you became National Guard first in order to be a police officer to kinda get that,
Correct.
right? Okay,
Yep.
so you're the
Mhm.
National Guard first, police officer, and fitness instructor. What is it like doing all that? What is it like being in the National Guard? I know right now, obviously, in LA, we have our
Mhm.
National Guard who is out here,
Yeah.
um, helping. I'll say helping.
Yeah.
Or I'll say this, they're securing their federal building, which is their job, right? What is
Yeah.
it what is it like, um, what is it like being the National Guard?
Well, it's and by the way, I mean, like, we were state activated for, like,
Mhm,
Minneapolis, St. Paul for 2020. So, like, we worked alongside police departments as well, or even in 2021
mhm,
with Dante Wright shooting in Brooklyn Center. And, like, so I was activated, twice for two big shootings.
mhm,
Um, and so what's it like in the National Guard? Well, it's not like your army marketing videos where, like, it's not like I'm jumping out of helicopters, drill weekends, and I'm doing night ops. Um, there can be a lot of sitting on phones and that kind of stuff, and doing admin tasks and mandatory trainings, just like a police officer. And it really kind of just depends upon what your job is
Okay.
and also what unit you're a part of. So as a military police, like I was part of a military police unit, but then they had more emphasis on corrections. So then I got deployed to Guantanamo Bay and worked in the correctional facility down there.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And then I went to more of an MP unit, to where then we did more route security, convoy security. So you're driving more military vehicles. You're doing more building searches, just like if you're a police officer or SWAT per se. And then I went to a unit to where it's a brigade headquarters, to where there's a lot sitting around, because like the unit's made up of higher ups per se, and there's a lot sitting around. So like, I mean, I feel like just like in life, like it's what you make out of it.
Yeah.
And, there could be some drill weekends that are fun because you get to, go shoot weapons and that kind of stuff. But then there's a lot of boring
Right.
times as well. So I guess it really depends upon the unit
Yeah.
you're in.
Okay. So the $1 million question, what are your thoughts, if you can or willing to share? What are your thoughts on, I mean, I guess obviously you're not here in LA, so I guess you don't see all of it. Based on what you've seen, what are your thoughts on the military being activated here in LA, both the National Guard and the Marines?
I seriously doubt that the military would be activated for a peaceful protest.
Right.
Like, because the media can spin it to what they want. Like, at least from how it should be, like, military is like the last resort. It's like basically the law enforcement is telling their higher ups, like, we cannot handle the situation. We need more resources.
Right.
And a department's not going to do that if people are just showing signs, holding hands, even just screaming, yelling, like whatever. It's unpleasant, but I can get screamed and yelled.
Yeah.
Like, people can't be like, there's plenty of videos. Oh yeah, it's mostly peaceful, and there's a car burning behind them. It's mostly peaceful as people are breaking into a Verizon or T-Mobile store and they're stealing phones. Like, that's not peaceful.
Yeah.
So people's definition of peaceful.
Yeah.
So it's like for people to say like, well, then Trump activated when it was like, do you think the president, with all that he can do, that it's going to make it to his desk like, hey, sir, like, there's this peaceful protest. There's no violence. No cars are burning. No stores are being broken into. No one's fighting. But yeah, we want you to activate the military. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find that now, could anything be possible? I guess, sure. But I just highly find it unlikely that military personnel, because like it's military activated that could potentially act upon civilians.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy to think
You know
about.
what? You know how many briefings that I got? So JAG is like military lawyers. How many briefings I got by JAG every time I was state activated, because it's military on civil, and like someone had to be doing something crazy, like literally harming another soldier, trying to kill another, for you to try to go hands-on.
Whenever
Like
if it's a military against civilian, they tell you it has to be something extreme in order for that to happen, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like if so for you as a military, if I witness someone going to burn down a building, it's a property crime.
Right.
Don't interfere.
For you, okay.
Now, for me, but now if it's a person, like people crimes, like if my if someone's kicking the shit out of, my partner over here, to intervene,
Right.
so like for people, so like that, so yeah, when you try to have military act on civilians, I mean, shit has to be really going down for military to act upon its own civilians.
Yeah.
So to say that it was just totally peaceful and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, again, who's writing the narrative?
Yeah.
Peaceful can be a very subjective so
Yeah, and you know what? And I think a lot of people need to be educated on what the law says too, as far as
yeah,
a legal protest, right? Like it's totally legal to protest, so people
yeah,
don't realize the moment that it transitions into um, destruction of property, vandalism, right,
mhm,
and or
yep.
violence, it is no longer peaceful. And then
It's now a riot. It is
yeah,
now
it is
considered a riot.
declared. The actual term is what, an unlawful assembly, right?
And
Um,
we have that too.
yeah,
Yep.
unlawful assembly, and then at that point, that's when law enforcement can, demand you to leave the area, essentially, and that's essentially what has happened. And I will say, as someone who was out there, it did start off. Most of the protests did start off as actual protests, right, where people were out there with signs, and they were, which
Yeah.
is great. As
Yeah.
a I know people get upset with protests, right? But I'll say this, and I have no problem saying this. I even say this to my coworkers. I personally, I don't dislike protest, right? And I don't dislike protest
Yeah.
because it was protests in the past that created, more opportunities for me as a Black person. Let's just be honest, here in America, right? And
Yeah.
so I am always in support of a peaceful protest, right? And I
Absolutely.
think the average person is. But unfortunately, when you're spray painting every single structure, car, building in the place in a 2-mile radius, that is no longer peaceful.
Well, and then
When rock
people have to realize, yeah.
and cops
Well,
are
people
taking
have to
rocks and
realize,
bottles, that's no longer peaceful, guys. Sorry.
yeah.
You have to leave now.
Well, and it can get out of hand quickly, like because we have tribal effect. Like you see one person doing it, and it feels like it can get away with it
Mhm.
because, quite frankly, there's way more of them than the police,
Yeah.
and it can get turned south really quickly.
Right.
And then, like when you try to enforce a curfew, it's not possible because people are like, well, like it's 99. Why do you have to do a curfew for everybody? 99% of
Yeah.
people are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine trying to do a curfew of like, okay, you can stay out. No, not you. You
Right.
can't stay
Right.
out. Like, unfortunately, like when you say like the one bad apple ruins the whole batch, well, you gotta treat everybody then like as far as like a curfew thing,
Yeah.
just to try to regain order
Yeah.
to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, 99% of people could be peaceful protesting.
Mhm.
But now, I don't know. Let's just quit. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, but like there's like what 3-4 million people in LA. 1% of LA can freaking ruin a city. I'm sorry to say, like that's a big number.
That's a
So
lot of
like
people, 1% of 3
that's
million, dude.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
It's
like
more like
that's a lot of people.
0.05. Even that can and I think that day we had about, I think on that Sunday, I believe, of the protest, the No Kings protest, I wanna say they estimated 20 to 30,000 people, which it was peaceful, which is crazy because it was peaceful initially,
Yeah.
and then it was a transition, right? And so
Yeah.
um, it's interesting. I don't, I won't talk too much about the military stuff because I'm still active and I wanna keep my job. I'll
Yeah.
probably edit this part
Yeah.
out. But,
It's all right.
so this, let's go back to your fitness.
Sure.
Let's talk more. Tell me more about your actual program. Um, how does it work? Like if you want to, or if some people are watching this and they want to reach out to you, they want to, they're interested in your program. What can you tell them to encourage them to what to expect, right?
Sure. So, well, break it down. So, like, what would the process look like? Well, first, it's an application process. So if you're interested in learning about, and we can put some of the links in the bio of
Absolutely.
this or the links in the description,
Mhm.
which I do most of my stuff through Facebook. So then you could like add me as a friend. You can DM me the word academy to learn about my Cop Transformation Academy.
Mhm.
And basically we start the application process just to see if you're a good fit, because I don't want to work with every cop, because one bad apple can ruin a whole batch.
There you go.
And plus then I don't want to waste someone's time if I may not be the best fit for them. I've referred people to other trainers. So now if you are a good fit, essentially if we have like different pillars, I think there we go. We have,
Mhm.
exercise, we have nutrition, and then we'll say like lifestyle. So like lifestyle can like be your water intake, your sleep. We don't try to change everything at once, because it's like a to-do list. If I'm asking you to do 10 things, you don't get excited about the 7 things you did. You get mad about the 3 things you did not do.
Right.
But we just start you on like an exercise program. Every person starts out differently. Whether it is doing some weight training, whether it's just going for walks, every person's different. Whether it's a nutrition program, well, and we would do nutrition coaching, but like trying to make you more conscious choices. Like, this is what your plate should look like. It should have probably a lot more protein on the plate and a lot less carbs that you're giving yourself.
Mhm.
You don't get you're not eliminating it, but like we just start with some of the basic fundamentals, because with so many fitness coaches out there, I think fitness coaches kind of forget to where, like, if we're looking at, say, chapters in a book, and if each month of my own experiences is a chapter, I can do some of these advanced techniques because I'm on chapter, say, 100 in my journey,
Mhm.
and you're on chapter 1.
Mhm.
What fitness coaches can get wrong is that, like, you're having beginners who are on chapter 1 of their journey doing chapter 100 tasks.
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So we just start with your fundamentals of getting some exercise in, changing your eating just slightly, and we just kind of have building blocks. We have a curriculum, just like if you're a cop who is on FTO, we have
Mhm.
an FTO program that has a curriculum.
Right.
So we have a curriculum to build you up. So that way, then again, like the goal is just to take action.
Mhm. I like that. Take
Um,
action.
while you're a cop, if you're a parent, and I get many guys or many gals who are like, well, I don't want 6-pack abs. Don't worry. You won't get them unless you really want to.
Don't want it. Who doesn't want
Uh,
a six-pack? Who are these people?
I think because I think they think about the trade-offs,
Yeah, what they have to do to get it, huh? That's really what it is.
what
Right.
they have to do to get it
Yeah.
or to give it up. But then they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize of like actually like how little that like, just consistency that you could get there. I mean, the guy over my right shoulder right now, Dave, like,
Mhm.
I mean, he's 54 and you can see he's got 6-pack
Yeah.
abs, but like
Ripped.
he didn't do anything more extreme than anyone else. He was just more consistent.
Mhm.
If we're looking at like a grade scale, like I'd say most students could be anywhere between 60 and 70% consistency. He was just 90% consistent
Mhm.
with his eating, with his exercising, and then you do it enough over time, then you just get good results.
Yeah. I wanna talk more about the emotional side of it, right? So you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, in your earlier days, that there were thoughts of suicide, and then, of course, the
Mhm.
stress and why you actually got into the physical fitness and why you wanted to help other officer. The area that I definitely like to focus on is emotional intelligence. and
Yeah.
how that is huge when it comes to policing, right? Based on our, it deals with our self-awareness. Essentially, it's how we identify our emotions both within ourselves and others, and then and regulating those emotions in those relationships, right? Whether it's
Oh, yeah.
professional, personal, relational, whatever it is, right? Emotional intelligence is
Mhm.
huge. Can you speak to how much, if it has, how much the fitness portion that you have added both to your life and your clients, how that has helped them in the area of emotional intelligence?
So people come in for a physical transformation,
Mhm.
expecting workouts, eating changes, and we do that. But they quickly learn of how much, whether you want to use the word mindset or, as you said, emotional
Mhm.
intelligence, can come into it. And especially we dive that my first program, first 4 months, the Cop Transformation Academy. My second tier program, my FTO program, 12 months, we dive even more into that, because if you can be the master of your own emotions, then whether it's fitness, talking with a suspect on the
Mhm.
street, talking with your kids, your wife, you can master anything.
Right.
So, how can fitness help with emotional intelligence? Well, number one, by you having the discipline to, say, work out consistently versus being on the couch, becoming an action taker, you start developing confidence.
Mhm.
You start developing, like, I can follow through with this. When you are stressed, and instead of just taking it out on a pint of ice cream, or instead of just like drinking alcohol, or just blowing up at your kids for not brushing your teeth,
Right.
if you can take it out on some weights, then you're going to have more bandwidth for your own emotions, um, to deal with life stressors.
Yeah.
If you are doing a kettlebell circuit, and then you could use your breath to slow down your heart rate, to slow down your mind when it's beating fast.
Right.
How much can that help you using your breath when you're out on a stressful call?
Yep. Yep.
And so there's a lot of correlates to where of like, like you're just, I mean, there's gym therapy, whether it's for a reason. I think we use a lot of comparisons there, but like, so I guess wrap it all up in a nice bow, a lot.
Yeah.
It can definitely help out emotional
A
intelligence. I gave
lot.
some examples.
I like that, bro. To wrap it up into a nice bow, a lot. It can help a lot. No, you're totally right, because physical fitness, when I had my panic attack during the whole George Floyd situation, or during, actually, it was really more so the pandemic. There was a lot going on for
Mhm.
me personally, and it was a buildup. I worked a human trafficking unit for about 8 years, and we were on
Mhm.
call 24/7. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you know it or not, but we have a street called Figueroa, and it's by far the busiest, unfortunately, the busiest street where human trafficking occurs. So it wasn't a matter of if we got called, it was how many times you got called, all right?
Yeah.
And that buildup
Mhm.
just kind of, and the pandemic just kind of broke me. And I started seeing a
Mhm.
therapist, and that was one of the first things that she had me do, was get back into my fitness regimen. I was kind of like you, I was working out a lot. I had a trainer before then, and I went from working out 3, 4 times a week to like 0.
Mhm.
But doing that, doing the physical fitness was a huge, huge benefit to get me back on track and get me back on track mentally. So, I just wanted to make sure I highlight that, because I think
Yeah.
in law enforcement, we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about suicide. We don't talk about the emotional stress. And suicide is the
Mhm.
number one cause of death in officers. And that's just,
Yeah.
it's unacceptable, because it's so avoidable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But listen, couple minutes, how we can find you. I'm gonna put everything, all the information for Coach Justin in the description below, but give us a tidbit of how we can find you, where we can find you, or where officers, you're available to both females and males. Although your thing is cop dad, but you'll train anybody, right?
Yeah. Yes. Because again, like it's as long as you fit the culture and you
Yeah.
fit the say value words. So we have our own value words. And if that's why like I could help like a female firefighter.
Yeah.
Like if she embodies the culture, the values, and having the right expectations. So how you can find me? Well, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you want a start, I will put my link to get my free Cop Dad Breakthrough course. There is a video version, also a written version. So whether you want to take 5 minutes to read it, or if you want to just listen to it while you're driving, watch a video, but it's my step-by-step process, 9 sections of how I help cop dads lose 30 pounds in 4 months without having to do any running or dieting. In each of the 9 sections, then I highlight a student who took that specific like piece of the program and implemented it into their lives. Most of my students are parents. So they have kids. So they have responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
They have spouses. So they have responsibilities. You don't, it's not like, well, he must be helping the 20-year-olds that aren't married, don't have kids. Like, no. Like even Adam, a single dad in his doctorate degree,
Wow.
works 3 jobs, has a horse farm, lost 50 pounds in 6 months.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of these stories of like, hey, they're like regular people. So yeah, if you just want that free guide, I'll put the link in there.
Yep.
And then you can get it. So
listen, you guys take advantage of that. Maybe we'll have a double up and we'll talk more about the coaching, because you mentioned that you have a coach outside of physical coach. You have someone who helps you just coaching in life, which is what I do for a living. I coach people. And I think we both can speak to the value of having someone coach and walk you just through life, period. You know?
Oh, of course.
It's huge.
Yes.
And so we can, we're going to come back. I think we're going to come back and we're going to have another conversation, and we're going to talk about that portion of, the coaching, because I think officers can value from it so much and they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I just read an article the other day in Police One is, Police One is right.
Yep.
Police One, and they were talking about the value of coaching in policing,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but we'll say that for another day. Listen, Justin, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for what you do, in serving not only in law enforcement, but also in our military. And I think that it's very honorable for you to be willing to do both. Some of us can only do one, but I think you're doing both. And I think that's awesome. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. All right, listen, you guys, thank you for watching another episode of The Human Side with Officer Jill. If you have any questions, any comments for myself or Justin, leave it in the comments below. I'm going to leave all of his information in the description of this video, where you can find him, his links for the free guide, and everything else that you need to know about Justin. If you want to be on the human side, you want to have an honest human conversation with me, feel free to reach out to me below. Most importantly, you guys, remember, if you show me your human side, I'll show you mine. All right, y'all. Peace.